What's up, y'all? Welcome to this new YouTube channel, which I think I'm just going to call Amen. That is my name, if you're wondering how it was pronounced. But basically, what we're going to do with this channel, what I want to do is kind of like motivate y'all, and at the same time, also motivate myself in a way. I kind of want to make this a little different than what most or a lot of motivation channels are, honestly. With a lot of people, you kind of see like they've already made it, and they're just kind of like giving their own advice. Here, what I want to try to do is like show y'all my journey as well as kind of give my tips, I guess, and what I've learned from other people and, whatnot, and what's kind of worked for me in my 19 years of life, which I know is very young. But really, what I'm going to try to focus on is different type of self-improvement videos. And on top of that, we're just going to like go through my daily life, I think, and just kind of do like that as my self journey. You guys can see that, and I'm gonna try to shoot for one video per week of each of those, so 2 videos a week. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. Today's focus is just gonna be on the grind in general. I thought that we could keep this like pretty basic, and then as we go on, obviously we can get more specific. But there are three main points here, from most important to least important in the grind. You have your spiritual focus, your mental focus, and your physical focuses. So first, let's go ahead and talk about spiritual, which, as I noted, is the most important. For me personally, my spiritual focus is on Christianity, my belief in Christ, and that he's my Lord and Savior. But this can be really anything. You could just rely on the universe. You could have another religion that you focus on. Anything really that you can kind of set and know that you have a plan. You know what I'm saying? And I think that really, whenever you do self improvement, you really need a foundation of love. And just knowing that when you're like in the depths, that there's something out there that loves you, a higher being that created you, or, the universe just loves you, and like whatever you give in is whatever you're going to get out in the same way. If you give out positive energy, you're going to get positive energy back in, something like that. I think that that's something very important on this journey that a lot of people don't talk about. And I really do think that faith is very, very powerful. No matter what's going to be happening in your life, like we talked about, there's always going to be a plan. And so for me, since I'm a Christian, I'm just going to go ahead and pull some Bible verses. And this is something I'm going to do a lot through these videos, is pull on Bible verses and kind of like how they apply to me in my life, right? So this first one here is Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope in the future. So like we said before, really when you're down in the dumps, just knowing that like you just need that faith. So basically what that verse is saying is, God has a plan for you, right? And for me, for Christianity, this is like, I don't know, it's really hard to kind of put an emphasis on how important this is to me, just feeling like you're not on the right path. What you're doing isn't enough. But really, at the end of the day, just realizing that, you're going to be okay, because God's there for you and He has a plan for you. Another one here, Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him and He will make your path straight. This is once again just relying on that faith, just that at the end of the day, there's something that is controlling what's going to happen in your life, and that's good. You're going to try to control what you can control and leave everything else to God or whatever else you believe in, Last one here, Isaiah 55:8-9. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. This is basically, once again, showing, like, for me as a Christian, God has superiority over me. You know what I'm saying? Like, He knows better than what I do. Whenever I try to take control of my life, it doesn't end well. It just leads to more depression, more sadness, more, like, insecurities. But whenever you really have that faith in Him, you can have that confidence. You know what I'm saying? And so we'll kind of like build more off of that, if that didn't make sense. And this next category, which is going to be your mental, this is the second most important. For me, really, something that's been helping me a lot is positive self-talk and kind of like tricking your brain to go through the hard things. And I think what a lot of people don't understand, I'm going to pull from David Goggins here, which I know a lot of people find him corny and whatnot, but something that's very important is whenever your body feels tired, we'll get more of this physical, I guess, but when your body gets tired, your mind isn't done working, right? Like, your body can feel tired, but your mind feels fine. And I think that a lot of people, like, you can see that if you really think about it as you're working out. But if you also do this in your work, right? If you're also like thinking like, dang, I really don't want to do this, I don't feel like doing this, but like you think in your mind, you're like, okay, but I can do this, and I have this ultimate goal. And when you have that ultimate goal, like mentally, you love whatever you do. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, if you love what your goal is, you're going to love the process leading to it, because you understand that those sufferings are going to build you, And I think that understanding that is something that's really, really like amazing, And the only way that you can improve is by doing these things through those times where your mind's like, dang, I really don't want to do this. Things such as reading, journaling, applying anything that you learn, doing what you said you were going to do, that builds your confidence, and like really just being confident in general. Like you can control all that. You can control everything in your life basically that can help your mental well-being be better. Okay, now looking at some more quotes here that are less focused on Christianity and more just focused on philosophers, right? We got Marcus Aurelius here. He says that you have power over your mind, not the outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Once again, this is controlling what you can't control and leaving the rest to what it's going to be. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of how you can find the most peace, in my opinion. Another one here from Plato: the first and best victory is to conquer yourself, right? And I think that that's very related to your mind, like conquering your mind. And if you can conquer your mind, literally you can do anything you want in life. And I think that that's just amazing. What's the difference between you and like Jeff Bezos, right? We're all human beings at the end of the day. There's no difference at all, right? The only difference that you might point out is like, okay, yeah, of course he has Amazon, he's rich, whatever, but like coming down to it, we're all just people. You know what I'm saying? We all mess up, we all learn, we all go through hard things. Like people go through everything, and I think that that's something that's really powerful to know whenever you're in the struggle. Is like, okay, someone's been in my shoes before, you know what I'm saying? And like they've gotten through this. You can pull on so many different people. Someone who I don't think is talked about enough is Muggsy Bogues. So I'm a big basketball player. Well, I guess I was. I played varsity in high school, but I'm also a big fan, right? And like looking at Muggsy Bogues' story, dude is 5'3". And like when he was young, like he was at a gas station and he was shot like multiple times. And the fact that he can come back from not only being 5'3", but going through that harm and like growing up and just like going through all those hard things. I don't know. That's just a lot of grit, right? Mentally. And grit is a big word that we're probably going to focus on that on a different video, but that's something that's a big topic. Okay. And then lastly, Socrates: the mind is everything, what you think you become. Once again, relating it back to like how powerful the mind is and you can do anything that you want to do, right? Okay, and kind of relating this all to spirituality, you can kind of see like if you can conquer your mind in a way with your thoughts, with how you act upon things, you can relate that to being like, okay, I know that what I'm doing, God has a plan for me, for example, and like I don't need to be worried because what I'm doing, like going through these discipline stuff and everything else, this is all in line with my identity as a child of God and trying to improve myself as a person. And I think that if you can do that, you can ultimately find your purpose. And that's something that we'll focus on in another video, right? Is your purpose. But going on to the last one here, which honestly is also, this is very important too, is your physical, challenging your body. And this also relates to your mind, like we said, with working out. That's very important. I think that what a lot of people get wrong with this is you need rest. You know what I'm saying? Like knowing that like when you're at rest, that's totally fine. Because when you're at rest, you're just giving it all to whatever spiritual being you believe in, like, right? I mean, like, for me, if I'm at rest, I'm leaving it to God, right? Like, if you're sleeping and you're not doing anything, you're saying, hey, God, like, I know I'm going to be fine, and I'm going to wake up in the morning, and everything's going to be great, and I'm going to continue to work on this plan that you have set for me, and I think that that's just beautiful, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can really just chill out, and, like, at the end of the day, as long as you keep working and then you just take a little rest, it's gonna be fine. And so kind of like relating this, like even God needed rest, right? He took 6 days to create the earth, and then the 7th day he rested. And so like at the end of the day, just realizing that rest is productivity, I think that that's something that's lost, And for me, like physically, I've changed a lot. As I said, we're gonna go through kind of like what my life was like, but I basically started out, I was going into high school, I was 5'7", no, I was like 5'8", and I was 5'8", 215. And that was very rough for me. My entire middle school career, really, I was very insecure about that, Looking back on that part of my life, it was definitely very difficult, you know what I'm saying? Just, like, thinking about, like, the struggles I went through. At the end of the day, what helped me was being like, okay, like, I need to push myself. You know what I'm saying? Like physically, I need to work out more. I need to be more intentional with my diet. I need to be more intentional with this body that God has given me. Like, how can I glorify Him, right? And I think that that's something, if you can focus on glorifying whatever you believe in as your purpose through a lot of things, I think that that's very important. Like I said, like I'm a child of God. So whatever I do, whatever I put my name on, I'm going to glorify God through that. For example, I talked about my body, right? A lot of people work out and like, they just want a great physique, which is amazing. But I think it makes it a lot easier when you look at your body like, okay, if I can work out for God and be like, yo, thank you for my body, thank you for this gift, and be like, I'm working out for you, I think that that's some motivation that you can use to like empower you. You know what I'm saying? Same thing goes for like even like reading. You know what I'm saying? Journaling, doing anything that requires discipline, eating healthy. You know what I'm saying? All this studying's a big one for me. Like all that stuff means a lot. You know what I'm saying? But just to pull on some quotes here, Romans chapter 5 verses 3 through 9. Not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance character, and character hope. And hope does not put us to shame. So, and we'll go ahead and look at these other ones and I'll start talking. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, 16 through 17. Therefore, we do not lose heart. Though outwardly we are wasting away, yet inwardly we are being renewed day by day. For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far awaits them all. Hebrews chapter 12 verse 11 says, no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. Okay, these are all like kind of crazy. Romans chapter 5 verses 3 through 9, the first one, I think that like glory and sufferings, I think that that's something that's not only seen here in Christianity, but you can see it through like other people, like philosophers, through literally anyone that's accomplished anything. They all go through sufferings, like we said before, and just like understanding that through that you're gonna like have glory. You know what I'm saying? And just always keeping that in mind. Like when you push through the things that you hate doing, like you can build perseverance, right? Like it says here. And then once you build your perseverance, you build your character. Once you build your character, you build your hope. And hope is one of those things. We'll do another video on this. Like I said, I have so many topics I want to talk about, but hope is one of those things. You need hope. You know what I'm saying? Like if you don't have hope, it's like it's hard to stay disciplined, in my opinion, because you don't know really like, okay, what am I like working for? You know what I'm saying? Like understanding that God has a plan for you, that's my hope. You know what I'm saying? And I'm never gonna lose that hope. I'm never gonna lose that spark. So I mean, I think that's pretty cool. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, 16 through 17. I think that this one is really cool. You know what I'm saying? Like even though that we're like slowly dying, we're being renewed every single day. You know what I'm saying? And so like the things that we go through, this is kind of relating to being 1% better each day. And if you're 1% better each day, you're going to be 36.5 times better than you were the year before, which is like insane, right? You know what I'm saying? And obviously you're not going to get 1% better every day. Like it's not going to be like, it's going to be like little like you guys know like a stock chart, or you know what I'm saying, like it's overall gonna go on the uptrend, but like you're gonna have moments where like you're gonna have retracements, you know what I'm saying? And then if you're a trader, you understand what I'm saying, but you gotta like find those fair value gaps in life, you know what I'm saying? You gotta see them, and then that's where you know you're gonna retrace. You find that break of structure, you enter. Yeah, just knowing like your momentary like you're gonna be fine. Basically, you know what I'm saying? Like each day you're getting better, and that's all that you can ask for. That's all you can control, right? And then Hebrews chapter 12 verse 11, I love this one about discipline. Like for example, for me, like this is like not like super big, I guess, but I came back in from Honduras. We were on vacation on Wednesday, and it was about 5 o'clock, and I decided, I was like, all right, I gotta run, because like your boy was low-key eating like 4,000 calories a day at least, and I'm supposed to be on a cut, and like I was like, I gotta run, you know what I'm saying? So went to the gym, I started running, and meanwhile I was kind of fasting all day. Like I ate around 800 calories before this, and it was all in the morning, like for breakfast, because I knew we weren't gonna eat till we got back home. When I started running, like I started to cramp and like feel like my legs were like giving out, and I was getting tired around 30 minutes in, you know what I'm saying? And like whenever that happened, I was like, dude, like, okay, I'm only gonna go for 45 minutes, or I'm only gonna go for 35 minutes. I'm gonna go for 5 more minutes, and then I'm done. You know what I'm saying? What I started to do was like I got to that 35-minute mark, and meanwhile, like I'm still dying, you know what I'm saying? But like I got to that 35-minute mark, and I was like, okay, you know what? I can do 5 more minutes. And then I got to 40, and I was like, okay, you know what? I can do 5 more minutes. And then I got to 45, and then it just kept going until I got to my initial goal. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying like that was easy. Like I was dying, but like after you go through each one of those like increments and you negotiate with your mind, like, yeah, I can do this. You know what I'm saying? Like I thought I was going to give up at 30 minutes. I thought I was over. I don't know. It just seemed like it was like got easier as I was like going through it, and I was like, okay, I can like take this, use it as motivation for the next 5 minutes. Like I did that. So then why can't I do it for 5 more minutes? You know what I'm saying? And you can apply that to anything in life. Okay, the last thing I really want to talk about here with the grind that a lot of people don't talk about is patience. And I think that this is a trap I fell into, especially with trading. So I started trading January is when I started learning. I was one of those people who got in because I thought it was gonna be like a get rich quick thing, like 2 months, and I was gonna be making money. And like some people it is like that, but for me, I'm not a natural at anything I do in life. It takes a lot of hard work and studying. Like for basketball, it took a lot of practice to get where I was. Like I'm not gonna be someone who just like hops in and is like amazing at something, like I just said. But basically, if you broaden your horizon, like for me for trading, I'm broadening my horizon for being making it like a decent amount of money for 2 years. You know what I'm saying? Like that, like starting the start of this month, so June 1st from until June 1st, 2027. That's my timeline. And sometimes you need to broaden out those timelines. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to make them longer, and that's totally fine. It shouldn't discourage you if you can't make a certain goal in a month or 3 months if that was your timeline. You just got to extend it and be like, okay, you know what, this is fine, but I have time. I can be patient. And the best thing about being patient is that whenever you're done with that, like it builds so much character in you. You know what I mean? Because you know that you can be patient. So like if I can be patient in this sector of life, why can't I be patient in this next sector of my life? Why can't I be patient in the next chapter of my life? Like all right, so in basketball, right? Sophomore year, that this was when I was called up to like fifth period, so with JV and varsity, right? And I sucked at running. I couldn't make a single five. No, I made one 5 and 60, and then I couldn't make the second or third one, which was like what we were supposed to do, right? And a 5 and 60 is basically five down and backs in 60 seconds, right? I knew like I had to run and put in work, right? To get better at this, obviously. So I was like, okay, how long can I do this by? And I was like, all right, by senior year, if I can make every single 5 and 60, I would be ecstatic because I just reached my goal. You know what I'm saying? And considering I came from not being able to make one, and if I can make every single one, that'd be perfect. And you guys can ask my teammates, low key, senior year, I didn't miss any. Like, I made every single one. We probably ran like 100. I was the only person on the team that didn't miss one. Like, not to boast about myself, but that just shows you, like, that was a 2.5 year timeline I put on myself, and I was able to accomplish that. And so I look at this trading thing, and I'm like, oh, 2 years? That's half a year less than what I had to do for my running goal. Like, I can do that easily. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Like, going back to some Bible verses here that focus on Christianity, Psalm 37:7. Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him. James 5:7. Be patient then, brothers and sisters, until the Lord's coming. You too, be patient and stand firm. And this is Aristotle. Patience is bitter, but its fruit is sweet. So, like, anything you look at, you know what I'm saying? Like we said before, like, it takes time. The great thing about things taking time is that whenever you finally accomplish what you want to accomplish, your mind is like, oh my gosh, like, I did that? And then you're like, okay, I can do this next thing. And that's how you slowly level up in life. And not only in life, but like as a person and with your morals. Like that's how you can become better. You know what I'm saying? And so, like I said, I'm a 19 years old. Everything I said here is more stuff that I've heard other people say or things that like people have told me. But the most important thing about these is I've seen little snippets of these in my life to where I'm like, okay, I can see how this makes sense later in life. You know what I'm saying? So like even though I'm not very experienced, and this is why I want to take you on that journey with me so that we can have like a little like community going, that'd be awesome. So the reason why I say that is because like I don't really have any credibility. You know what I'm saying? That's why I'm pulling from these quotes and being like, okay, this is how it applies. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate y'all. If you guys made it all the way through the video, I really do appreciate that. I know like this is my first time doing it, so it might have been like a little bit all over the place. So I'll fix that. I'll try my best to do that. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. I don't really have an outro or an idea for an outro, but I will see you guys in the next video, I guess. So, deuces.